First shown in 2015, the Bentley Bentayga started production that December, with the first deliveries in early 2016. For this guide, we are going to focus on these first phase cars built until 2020, when the facelifted model arrives and revamps the Bentayga. Critically, for used buyers, this is the era that many of you will have 4 engine options, along with several special editions. All cars are built in Crewe UK, and the Bentayga was filled with firsts for the brand, including offering a diesel engine and a 7-seat model. Now, some of you may know that the platform that Bentley used is shared with several cars like the Porsche Cayenne and Audi Q7, along with the VW Touareg, but I need to stress here that the MLB Evo platform has very few fixed aspects, and is more about shared logic than the same chassis with different body panels. The extreme of this is the Bentayga and the Lamborghini Urus, that both use the logic but create a very different vehicle, sharing little more than some front anchor points for the engine and the front wheel placement, along with the windscreen angle for safety reasons. Now, if you do spend the extra for a Bentley, you are getting a car built to Bentley's specification, not a VW with lots of leather, as some journalists have claimed without researching. It's a fascinating subject beyond the scope of this guide, but I thought it was worth mentioning. This is also where Bentley was able to offer customers more reasons than one to opt for a W12 engine, which was launched with the Bentley Dynamic Ride, not just a brand, but a world-first use of the 48-volt electrically assisted active anti-roll bar control system capable of generating 959 foot-pound of torque. Now, I want to step in here and highlight that this claim was correct, but only because Bentley used a 48-volt system. Lexus had used a 42-volt system on the GS430 in 2005 to achieve a similar goal, and in 1991, the Infiniti Q45A is recorded as the world's first full active system on a production car. Now, hydraulic actuators were used in that case, and there were countless other systems in the interim. Before them all, Williams and Lotus used a system in their Formula One cars in the late 80s and early 90s, but Bentley was the first to use a 48-volt system. This transformed the ride of the Bentayga when compared to rivals. However, this was only standard fit on the W12, while optional on the petrol and diesel V8 engine options. Hybrid models, though, which are only sold from 2019, were not able to offer this due to packaging, and so it does ride differently to the rest of the range. Now, choices of trim have many more variants than you may expect. Initially, there was only the W12 model, and so if researching an early car, you will likely see it advertised simply as a W12. However, the first 608 cars are the first edition models, all carrying a Union Jack flag emblem to set them apart, along with unique wheels. This was quickly followed by the diesel, giving buyers more choice of absolute power in the W12, or, as Bentley advertised, better driving range for long-distance touring, assuming their customer base was more interested about making a dash across the continent without stopping for fuel, rather than cross-shopping ultra-luxury SUVs for fuel economy. Either way, these arrived to first customers in late 2016 and early 2017. In 2017, Bentley introduced the Mulliner model, the flagship model. And then in 2018, it was then the demise of the diesel for many. Taken off sale in Europe in October, some markets like Russia and Australia kept that on the market on the books until 2020, when it was completely removed and consigned to Bentley history as what will likely be the first and last diesel from the brand. The V8 petrol was released in 2018, which Bentley believed was a better fit for buyers not wanting the W12 and its higher running costs. In 2019, both the hybrid V6 arrived, while the W12 Speed model moved the top model further away from the V8s. There was also a V8 design series, added a styling pack to the V8. Early phase cars were then removed from sale in 2020, and the factory began production of the second phase car in June 2020. For those of you that come to these videos wanting every last drop of detail, the popular extras were touring specification, adding adaptive cruise and head-up display, along with other tech highlights, a city specification for surround cameras and park assist, among other extras, and the lesser chosen all-terrain pack, adding off-road hardware and 4 additional off-road drive modes. But that's not what you come to the miles driven for. So in 2016, Bentley began offering a fly fishing by Mulliner pack to outfit the car with a tackle install, case and storage. In 2017, a falconry pack for Mulliner was designed by kitting out the boot with a falconry equipment. A field sports pack again by Mulliner added a Purdy storage and accessories. And one of the ultimate options was a Mulliner tourbillon, adding a Breitling dashboard clock. This pack varies slightly by market, but was close to the price of the car. In the US, it showed as a $160,000 option. When shopping for a used Bentayga, you'll find the widest choice in 2016, as this was the hottest year for sales, with 5,586 units registered worldwide, closely followed by 2019, thanks to the new engines and application choices. 2017 comes in just behind those two, and Bentley as a brand hit a new record for sales in 2016, thanks to the Bentayga model. Moving on to safety, and it will surprise few that this Bentley did not undergo official crash testing. However, the use of the platform related to Audi and VW, it is likely it would have scored well, like the SUVs from those brands did when tested. Moving on to common faults, and if you're enjoying the video, consider subscribing and using the hype feature, or just old school liking the video, as this helps others like yourself get the video suggested to them. I'll add a quick note here that this is a low volume car, even if it was setting records, and so issues are derived from a smaller data set and sample size than usual, but we've tried to identify the questions to ask, and as an aside, the Bentayga seems to have been pretty reliable so far, especially for a car in this class, so don't assume all will have these problems. In fact, it's the few that we want to help you avoid. Air suspension led the reports of issues, usually due to warning messages. The stance of the car will start to look unbalanced, and a hard ride will be the telltale signs of an issue. Usually the compressor or valve block, although these can sometimes be as a result of a leaking air line forcing the compressor to work overtime, and highlights why an issue should be investigated early. Usually owners that ignore an air leak, especially from the strut, cause a larger issue as the compressor works overtime, and then the cost of the repair mounts. The panoramic roof can suffer water ingress that will be noticed by drips of water showing around the map lights in the roof. There are some roof drain repairs for this, and a technical service bulletin for the Bentayga was issued to inspect the reading lights for any signs of water ingress. The dynamic ride can issue warnings and give a brittle ride that owners worry is caused by a suspension fault, only to find it is the anti-roll system receiving low voltage and not having enough power to operate properly. A product information bulletin to dealers covered this for diagnostics and updated a software or rebooted it, which resolved many reported issues without needing replacement hardware. These were the main issues, and to be fair to Bentley, few owners ever had the issues, thanks to added inspections and technical bulletins done at servicing to prevent the issues beginning. On the rarer end of the scale, there were a variety of infotainment issues, to include the reversing camera being slow to start up or refusing to show when in reverse. There was also stories about infotainment freezing or pausing halfway through operating. Most issues could be solved with either just restarting the car or getting the software updated for a permanent fix. Cooling system issues are mainly reported on the W12, but appear enough to be reported across engines. The W12 had a technical service bulletin to inspect the mechanical cooling pump for leaks and replace if needed. Oil leaks are again a rare report, but if you notice it, then you are most likely the cause will be a failed gasket from the turbo oil feed pipe or a split vacuum hose. Fortunately, most specialists and Bentley dealers know where to look to catch these early before owners suffered a larger issue. If you're advised of an oil leak, especially on the W12, it could be tempting to leave it for a while if it's just a drip, but it won't surprise you to learn that these are the cases that usually have a follow-up report of a major issue. The main reason owners look to delay work is that while most repairs are simple and minor, they require a lot of labour to get to the issue, especially on the W12, and I'm sure I don't need to say this to serial Bentley owners, but you'd rather pay more to get these jobs done right and early than get a look at an invoice for a major repair. It will likely be more than the cost of a lightly used VW Golf. The electric steering rack is becoming a somewhat regular job for specialist independent rebuilders. Most of the time, it's an owner reporting a noise on turning, and water is found having been leaking onto the rack electronics. The repair isn't cheap, but it isn't especially expensive compared to many Bentley repairs. The cost will be similar to an annual service, with many specialists able to get it fixed. Now onto the recalls, and a reminder that we also have a guide on the Aston Martin DBX and Range Rover to check out after this video if you're shopping around luxury SUVs. All 2017 model year cars were recalled for panel joints not being torqued correctly at factory. affecting cars that were built from March to September of 2016. The power-assisted steering on diesel models was recalled for a poor earth connection on cars built from September 2016 to March 2017. This was a fairly minor recall, but obviously an important one because the electrics for the power steering could be affected. If fitted with 3-row seating, a recall for cars built from 2017 to 2020 was issued to replace the upper anchor bolt for a longer one, as there was a question on the load spec of the original one, so Bentley decided it was safer just to recall the bolt. A software update for the cooling fan was issued under recall for the V8 model cars built from the start of 2018 to late 2019 after several reports of excessive heat, which was then discovered to be concentrating on the low-pressure fuel hose. Now onto the engines, and with 4 to choose from, we'll start with the limited market diesel for the many of you wanting to get your hands on the only Bentley diesel. The engine is a 4-litre V8 with a fairly ubiquitous across several high-end vehicles in the VW group, with the Porsche Cayenne and Panamera both having it had the engine too. This version is paired to 2 turbochargers and a 48-volt mild hybrid system that powers an electric compressor, meaning that while its 429 brake horsepower may not sound as impressive as others, the 900 newton meters of torque hits very low down in the rev range, making progress effortless, and several owners that tow have said they barely noticed, even if they're pulling a boat. A sentence that surely raises a smile. The idea of towing boats with Bentleys is a sign that you've probably reached your financial goals in life. Officially, the 35.9 miles per gallon or 7.9 litres per 100 kilometres isn't quite what owners report, but an even 30 miles per gallon average seems fairly consistent. Overall, this is considered one of the strongest and most reliable engines in the VW group, and the actual mechanicals are unlikely to cause much of an issue outside of one major area: the emissions controls. This is consistent with many modern diesels, with complaints of the AdBlue causing issues including crystallization, faulty injectors due to clogging, and NOx sensors, all reported and causing a no-start warning. The DPF and EGR are noted next, although less reported by owners that use the car for long journeys, whether it's just trundling along the higher speed motorways between work commitments or cross-continent blasting past a mountain range. The only other reports are air leaks, usually the vacuum or intake, and an oil weep, but these are usually spotted early by specialists and in relative terms a fairly low-cost repair. The second V8 was again a 4-litre, but the petrol engine was not only sold across the world, but quickly became a popular choice. If you want one, you'll be looking from the later release date of January 2018, making 542 brake horsepower with an official average fuel economy rated at 24.8 miles per gallon or 11.4 litres per 100 kilometres, although many owners find this figure optimistic. This engine is coded EA825, and enthusiasts will know it's a family unit to several top-end Audi and Porsches, as well as also finding its way into Lamborghini. This engine is now starting to age in some versions, but is maintaining a strong reliability record, which we should stress is a real standout. Most engines built for performance do eventually need larger repairs to keep their higher strung components working perfectly, but so far, while there have been reports of both cooling system leaks, usually related to the thermostat housing or coolant pump, that Bentleys are aware of and have replacement guidance on main areas to look out for, and oil seepage, a failed gasket, or most commonly and critically most likely to cause damage, is the oil pipe feed weeping, as this carries the risk of damage to the turbos. Overall, owners seem to really like this engine, as the mix of power, efficiency, and a lighter nose, making the car feel a touch more agile and helps further improve the ownership experience. If, though, you want to maximise efficiency and didn't get a diesel option, then the 3-litre V6 hybrid option added late in 2019 may be a better choice. The combined 443 brake horsepower makes it competitive against the diesel. However, it can't offer the imperious torque shove that car has. Although the electrical assistance makes it feel more than the figures on paper show, that's because of the instant boost from the e-motor. There were lots of fuel economy claims, but all were done on old test cycles, and most owners report economy similar to the V8 petrol engine when you're running on the engine alone. Battery range of 24 miles or 39 kilometers was scored in European testing, while the EPA gave a US score of 16 miles from the 17.3 kilowatt-hour battery. This is the engine with the thinnest dataset thanks to its late release and mild reception when released, making it relatively rare on this first phase of Bentaygas. The only notable complaints were around early issues of charging or problems with the 12-volt battery used to power the car's electrics not holding charge, but dealers appear to have resolved these complaints with refreshed software. Then we have the most powerful and most expensive model when new, the W12. Notable for used buyers is that today a similar age and mileage W12 can be found to the V8, and an initial price gap when new has shrunk on the used market as the easier to maintain and wider use of the V8 engine tempts many, while others see this as the very best time to get their hands on a W12 while they still can. Initially, power is rated at 600 brake horsepower, with torque matching the V8 diesel at 900 Newton meters. This version stays on offer until 2020 when it's updated for the second phase car, but slows in popularity after 2017 with the V8 release. The Speed models were delivered to customers in late 2019 with 626 brake horsepower, so it's a short release window on the earlier cars, but it was enough to bump up sales as early buyers jumped at the chance to upgrade their car to the Speed model. Fuel economy is not the W12's strong point. An official 21.2 miles per gallon or 13.1 litres per 100 kilometres is far above what many owners average, but in the right conditions in a light cruise, it is possible. As mentioned earlier, engine cooling is the main issue for many, as this can have a knock-on effect. However, several technical bulletins to dealers have gone a long way to resolving early issues. Have a look through the service history for any notes from a Bentley specialist or dealer on replacement gaskets or service notes of oil weeping and vacuum hoses. If you see a technician note an issue that is accompanied by an invoice resolving the issue immediately, you're likely looking at one that has had an owner happy to pay whatever necessary to keep their car in tip-top condition, a positive sign on one of these. Any notes with no noted repairs or repeated issues noted at service should be enough to make you pause. It's the lottery of Bentley here. A lot of Bentley owners have been so for a long time, and they've accepted long ago that running costs would be eye-watering to most, and they just pay and enjoy the car. For some, this may be their first experience having been told incorrectly that it's just a VW with a new badge, and they think they can run it cheaply. Bentley have made this car quite unique to those it is related to, and so many parts will look like the invoice to buy a used commuter car, not a part with the cost of fitting to go on top. Some can live with that, others can't. Hopefully this guide will help you avoid the ones someone is trying to move on because maintenance bills have caught up with them and they need to hand off a problem to someone else. This is partly why there have been reports of camshaft failures on the W12, although rare. Most of the time this is being linked to deferred maintenance of split hoses or gaskets allowing oil and fluid to mix. Almost always, the owner was told the initial issue and ignored it. All of this isn't to say that they can't be maintained by someone that really knows their stuff and with access to a part system and a keen eye for a deal that aren't afraid of the spanners may find this the most affordable Bentley to own, but that sentence goes along with ones like an aircraft that is the cheapest, the yacht that is the most fuel efficient, and the house that only has 9 bathrooms but has 4 swimming pools. What should bring you pause is that if brand new buyers that were willing to lose hundreds of thousands in depreciation opted for the V8, that it is fair that this is a sign that buyers should expect higher running costs than anything they've had before unless they are a serial used Bentley buyer. The reward is rolling around in a 12-cylinder Bentley, something few will ever do, and having been lucky enough to drive several, it is an experience you'll be unlikely to forget. Effortless power, and knowing you have the highest specification Bentley out there just is different. Don't believe me? Go and drive one. On to our picks, and after saying that, you may think that the W12 would pinch a win here, but it doesn't. Ultimately, the V8 petrol gives 90% of the experience with fewer concerns and lower running costs, so it's the budget end buy. Although, if you had a diesel offering, this is an absolute must-drive. It's absurd, but lovable. It's an oddball in Bentley history, the mismatched character that somehow totally works. Bentley will likely never say a diesel SUV was a historic model for them. They would likely rather we all forget. The best way to put it is once you've seen something that you can't unsee, you'll remember it. The diesel Bentayga is that. Of course, if money is less of a consideration than having the ultimate model, it has to be the W12. Bentley are no fools. If you wanted the best, you paid for the Halo engine. but few V8 owners will feel shortchanged, even if that W12 badge is just oh so alluring. If the Bentley isn't for you though, we have loads of buyer's guides for luxury SUVs to check out. The Aston Martin DBX is a great challenger for those looking for something with a sporty edge.